Welcome to the second episode of the Sports Enthusiast podcast. I am Aaron Randak, joined by
Lucas McGee.
Ashton, McConnell.
We were recording this on Thursday the 26th, so if there are any games that we talked about that have already happened, we're sorry about that. Be sure to check us out on Instagram at the Sports Enthusiast and on Twitter at SportsENTPod. That's SportsENTPod on Twitter.
Also, feel free to shout us out to anybody you know that they would think this would be interesting and enjoy listening to. So.
All right, let's get into it with our NFL week recap. We're going to start doing power rankings every episode, just our top 10. So let's start with Lucas on that.
All right, my number 10 team is the Baltimore Ravens.
At 10, really?
Yes. They lost the game. They got to drop behind everyone who's undefeated because you got to give the undefeated teams the benefit of the doubt.
Really? Okay, I got you. So you're not going necessarily off strength of schedule, you're just kind of going more record-based?
Yeah, record-based.
Okay.
And so my number 10 team, I have the Lions. I mean, the NFC North they've been playing some good ball. They just beat the Eagles on the road. And then Matthew Stafford has been playing fantastic a little bit, kind of like his first overall pick self. But, I mean, the defense has actually picked it up a little bit, too, with Darius Slay, Damon Harrison. Yeah.
I think you're preparing for when the Packers lose to the Lions. You already said that the Lions were a good team because
you're just
building
in that excuse. Well, I think you guys are both dead wrong. I have the Ravens way higher than you. I have the Lions way lower than you. So
I have the Ravens higher as well.
I guess we're just going about one pick at a time. I have the Bears at 10. The only reason they're there and not higher, I don't love their quarterback situation with Mitchell Trubisky. And they don't have Vic Fangio anymore, who I thought was the biggest kind of key to that defense other than Khalil Mack. Vic Fangio, obviously the defensive coordinator, who is now the head coach of the Broncos. Lucas, your number 9 team, unless you want to discuss the Bears.
I'm cool with the Bears. I got the Vikings at 9. Dalvin Cook looks like the best running back in the league right now.
Yeah, he's up there.
He's good.
Well, he's amazing.
All right, for my number 9 team, I have the New Orleans Saints. Teddy Bridgewater looked like the old Teddy Bridgewater. It seemed like he felt very comfortable, kind of like how in Minnesota he did. Alvin Kamara is just an absolute beast, what he did on the field. And they go in Seattle, who in September, they usually never lose at home.
Great home field advantage.
Just to beat them, like the way they did, was just spectacular.
Yeah, it brings a smile to my face seeing Teddy Bridgewater do good. It sucked what happened in Minnesota, but I'm rooting for the guy. My number 9 team is the Philadelphia Eagles. They're off to a rough start, but I do really like their defensive line, and their offensive line is top 3 in football. Carson Wentz is, playing at an MVP level. He's great, or he can play at an MVP level. And their weapons actually aren't too bad with Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, and Zach Ertz, along with Miles Sanders at running back.
Number 8, I got the 49ers, the 3-0 team that I don't think deserves to be this high, but they are a 3-0 team. I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they'll end up 16-0. That is not wrong. They are 3-0. Breida hasn't played that bad. If I'm going to give it to anybody, hey, Breida, good job. I don't know. The team doesn't look good, but they're also winning. So who am I to judge?
What do they do better than the Baltimore Ravens?
Win a game.
Okay.
They're 3-0. The Ravens are 2-1.
They played, let's see, the Bengals, the Steelers.
I think the Bengals are going to come up. I think we'll be talking about the Bengals in a couple weeks.
The Bengals?
The Bengals. I think Mixon's going to become a man amongst men.
He's not the only player on the team, though.
He can control that team if he would like. He can rush for... I'd say...
How'd the Giants do last year with Saquon?
Okay. I think Andy Dalton's a little better than Eli Manning.
It's not Eli Manning anymore.
I'm talking about last year.
Last year, though. Come on.
Let's simmer down there, big kid. I mean, even the wideouts are better. John Ross and Tyler Boyd are both better than Sterling Shepard and whoever the hell it was last year with him.
No, but,
I think that the Bengals team this year is a lot better than the Giants team last year. And I think if Mixon can become what I think he is, I do think that they can do something.
But they weren't good at the time they played the Niners.
No, they weren't. I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you in general. I think the Bengals will be good.
Okay.
It doesn't help that Jonah Williams and AJ Green have been out.
And Billy Price.
Good price.
All right, so we're heading on to number 8. I have the Houston Texans. I mean, I know they're 2-1, but they just beat a tough Chargers team on the road. I know the Chargers aren't the greatest team at home, but they could technically be 3-0. You could say New Orleans got lucky week 1, but Deshaun Watson has been balling out, even though he seems like is still running for his life. And then that defense, that front four, has been doing really good, so that's why they're number 8.
Yeah. I'm just going to add something on the Texans. I don't have them in my top 10. I just think their offensive line sucks, which it does. And their secondary doesn't help them too much on defense. Their front four is still good, but with J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless and guys like that. My number 8 team is Cleveland. I know they're off to a really bad start, but I am still a fan of the talent that they have on that team. And I do think Baker Mayfield can turn it around. I don't think he's overrated, and I think Freddie Kitchens is an above-average play caller. He's not great, but I think he can get the job done.
I love Cleveland, but I wouldn't put him in the top 10 right now. Baker just seems like he's kind of too quick on his throws. He pump fakes a lot too, but that Freddie Kitchens isn't helping him with the play calling. And yeah,
If I had to identify one problem with Cleveland, why I think they are kind of losing games, is because of that offensive line. They traded away Kevin Zeitler to the Giants for Olivier Vernon, which, I mean, it did improve their pass rush, but their offensive line is a big issue. I'd like to see them in more 2 tight end sets with 21 personnel, having OBJ and Jarvis on the outside with Njoku and whoever their other tight end is, along with Nick Chubb in the backfield. I think that'll help out, especially if you have tight ends chip on defensive ends.
Number 7, I have the Cowboys.
7.
Wait, 7?
7. I'm very confident with the 7. Now that we're at all the 3-0 teams, I'm going to tell you why they are where they are. I think the Cowboys are going to lose this week. I'm going to say that. They've looked weaker and weaker every week, and I just think they're on a downhill slide, and I don't know if they have a way to get back up. I think losing Gallup hurt. I think that they're starting to show it, and I think that if Amari Cooper wouldn't have had such a good game, they wouldn't have been as good.
I mean, I don't have the Cowboys much higher than you do, but I think they're going to win this week against the Saints. And I don't think they're on a downhill slide whatsoever. I think their defense is really good. They have one of the 3 or 4 best corners in football in Byron Jones. They got fast linebackers. Dak Prescott's looking really good this year. They obviously have 21 in the backfield. Ezekiel Elliott, who is top 5 running back in football. Their offensive line is still good, but they don't have much depth at that position. So if someone does get banged up, I could see that being an issue. Yeah, that's all I have to add.
Yeah, I actually have the Saints winning this week, but if the Cowboys win, I wouldn't be surprised. Dak, I know he hasn't played the greatest of teams, but he's looking like he's matured a lot. Zeke's still a beast. That defense has been very consistent, and it will be interesting to see against that tough New Orleans team, especially at home. And so now I go on to my number 7 team. I put the Buffalo Bills. I think they're looking kind of elite. I know they haven't played the greatest of teams either, but Josh Allen, he's actually kind of maturing. I said last year he could honestly be, all the quarterbacks could be great, and he's looking like to be one of those 5 great quarterbacks. The running game has been amazing. They actually got receiver help for once, unlike last year, and that defense has kind of been balling out for them too.
I like Buffalo, but obviously not as much as you. The thing that scares me is their receiving core, with John Brown and Cole Beasley being their 1-2 punch. I don't love that at all. And I mean, they have a lot of above average players on that team, which isn't bad, but they don't have much star talent at all, especially in the skill position, unless Devin Singletary can break out. I guess to go to my number 7 team, which is the Los Angeles Rams. It might be a little low for some people. I don't like how they played last week against the Browns, and I'm just really not the biggest believer in Jared Goff, but I still think that they're obviously a top 7 team in football, and the teams that I have ahead of them are pretty good ones. So yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't really agree with that, but whatever.
Talk to me.
My number 6 is the Bills.
Oh, really?
I'm ready to hear your guys' comments. Whatever. I don't agree with you on the John Brown comment. I think he is fine as a one receiver for them.
You think he's fine as a one?
I think for now he fits that system really well. He's in a system he enjoys. He's doing a lot better than he was in Arizona. It's just, I don't know. He's starting to look like he's actually the receiver that I thought he was going to become. I think Singletary has a chance to break out.
Yep.
As everyone knows, I love Singletary. And yeah, it's just an upward climb in my opinion. I don't see any time the Bills are going to slide for the next couple weeks. I do think they will beat the Patriots this week. I will say that.
I agree with that too.
I don't agree, but one thing I forgot to mention about the Bills when I was talking about Ashton's point, they have, in my opinion, a top 10 coach in football in Sean McDermott. Nobody talks about him. Nobody gives him credit. He was actually, I believe, the Panthers' defensive coordinator when they went to the Super Bowl, went 15-1. And he is one of the best defensive minds in football. He gets their guys ready to roll every single week, and he's a great in-game adjuster. So I guess that's another tip to the cap, all you Bills supporters.
All right, so now my number 6 team. This is where I have the Baltimore Ravens. They lost a close one with the Chiefs, and I mean the Chiefs are amazing. Patty Mahomes, he just does it all. But they were losing kind of big, it seemed like, and then Lamar Jackson just brought them back into it. And I mean, if they would have won, that would have been insane. But looking at Lamar Jackson, he's kind of, the highlights I saw, he's looking kind of like Mike Vick, the way he scrambles, the juke moves he was putting on the line. I know his throwing stats weren't great, but I think he just had to get more comfortable against a tougher opponent. That's why I have him 6.
I'm not going to say anything much about the Ravens because we kind of talked about it with Lucas at this point. My number 6 team is the Dallas Cowboys. Kellen Moore and that new offense is looking, as an offensive coordinator, his offense is looking really good. Dak Prescott playing well this year. Don't really have much to add on that. Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch at linebacker, a good duo there, along with Byron Jones.
All right. Who's ready for me to flip-flop? This is my only 2-1 team up here. The Saints at 2-1. I think that Kamara is setting them up for an excellent season. I think that the reasoning of the loss was more of a chemistry problem that they had earlier. I think that they could go for a great rest of the season. Even if Breeze was to hypothetically miss more time, I think Bridgewater has the capability to step in. I, again, will harp on Kamara. He's looking like one of the best running backs in a while. I mean, I watched that screen pass he had for the 30-yard touchdown or whatever. He had no business getting to that end zone, and he fought the whole way there.
Yeah, he's top 5 running back in football. He's just he fits every scheme that you want to put him in. Sean Payton, if I had to say, probably the best play caller in football, maybe the best offensive play caller of all time. He's just an absolute genius. Yeah, that's really all I got to say. They have Michael Thomas, which you haven't mentioned yet.
And I know I mentioned this about Teddy Bridgewater, but it looks like he's coming back to his Minnesota days. I mean, in Minnesota, if Blair Walsh doesn't miss that kick, they could have maybe did.
You have to bring that up. You have to bring that up.
I mean, and I know I've said this in the past, but going back to Teddy Bridgewater's past days in Minnesota, I mean, if it weren't for a Blair Walsh kick, I mean, they could have went far in the playoffs.
Let's stop. Let's not talk about that.
But he's looking like his older self, confident with his throws, just trusting the system that Sean Payton has. And yeah. Now on to my number 5 team. I was determining number 5 and 4 who should be where. So my number 5 team is the Rams. I know Gurley, he hasn't been as effective, but Jared Goff is still kind of matured at home. He's struggled a little bit on the road, but they have played phenomenal at home. Somehow they're 3-0. They picked up an incredible win against Cleveland on the road. And that defense, Aaron Donald, you saw last week against the Browns, he was an absolute beast. And that defense can be elite when he is playing out of his mind.
I did see a report come out earlier this week that they wanted to get Todd Gurley up to 25 carries a game, which I don't think is the best idea, especially for arthritis in his knee. I don't think that's a great idea, especially, I mean, they have Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson behind him, who are two really good backs.
They're not Gurley, though. I mean,
yeah, you're right.
You have the drop-off already. You don't really want to kind of... I guess they're probably thinking that they can push Gurley as far as they can, and if he needs to sit, they do have the backups to sit him.
Yeah, I mean, but we did see what happened last year, though, in the playoffs. Or, right, actually, kind of at the end of the season and into the playoffs. He couldn't get as many carries. C.J. Anderson kind of had to take over that role. But, yeah. We'll go to my number 5 team, which is actually the Green Bay Packers. They're 3-0. I don't think they've looked amazing. I think they've looked good. LaFleur's offense starts really well, but I don't think he's a great in-game adjuster, which is one of the reasons why they are lower than maybe you guys would have anticipated. They did end up beating the Vikings earlier in the year, which I was sad about, obviously. But it was in Green Bay, and LaFleur did score 21 points early, and they couldn't score really the rest of the game. So I have the Packers low. I don't love their offense. I love Aaron Rodgers. He's the best quarterback in football still, in my opinion. I know you guys are going to say Patrick Mahomes, but yeah.
Kyle Allen's the best quarterback in football.
There you go.
Daniel Jones.
Gardner Minshew.
There we go.
You had to bring him up.
Number 4, I do have the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
They're 3-0. They're looking pretty good. Aaron Jones has impressed me the last game and a half.
Yep, I forgot to bring
And
him up.
that's all I'm really going to say. I don't like Aaron Rodgers, and I don't like many other Packers, but Aaron Jones deserves the credit he deserves.
There's a reason why I chose my team, the Packers, at 4 over the Rams. Those were the 2 teams I was controversial on. But at least the Packers are trustable on the road. Aaron Rodgers is more trustworthy on the road than Jared Goff. Aaron Rodgers knows when to be smart with the ball, not make turnovers. You saw that in Cleveland. Jared Goff just forced too many throws, led to interceptions. In the Packers' run game, we have a great mix with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. It's just exciting to see, and our defense is actually looking incredible compared to past years.
Yeah. So it might sound a little biased here, but my number 4 team is the Minnesota Vikings.
What the hell? Why?
Okay. They've had the best rushing attack in football this year. Their rushing, their run blocking, has been amazing. I do think that game in Green Bay wasn't great, especially for their pass protection, like I mentioned last episode. But I think their defense is better than the Packers. I think their defense is better than the Rams. I think their defense is better than the Cowboys, which are the teams I had behind them. And I think their offense can get going. Stephon Diggs hasn't had the year he has had in the past, but I think he can kind of turn that around, which is why I have him so high. So yeah. You can express your grievances if you'd like.
I think that Kirk Cousins is toxic to that team, and I don't think that they can be a top 5 team at all this year because I don't think Kirk Cousins can lead them to a good enough record.
The only reason they're not in my top 10 at all is because of Kirk Cousins. Whenever you need him most, those clutch games, he seems to crumble under pressure. I think he's got a horrendous record in like primetime games, divisional games, and that's why.
So you think when it's like 7 o'clock, he just gets scared and he goes under the.
I don't know.
That's kind of what it looks like.
Is
Some
that
of
what
those
you think?
throws
I
that
don't
he's
know what
throwing,
it
it kind of
is,
looks like
but-
he is hiding from under something.
I just think it's one of those trends that you kind of like we see a lot of these betting trends that say like, oh well, this team is such and such record at 50 degrees or whatever. I just think it's one of those kind of random trends, to be honest.
Or he just plain sucks. I mean, it's one of the two.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst contracts I've ever seen given out.
I disagree with that 100%. Have you seen Jimmy Garoppolo's contract with the Niners?
Garoppolo's contract wasn't bad till his knee got torn.
Yeah.
So it was a bad contract.
Yeah, okay, but at least Cousins never got hurt. Garoppolo did.
Yeah, and Cousins has played better than Garoppolo.
Because Garoppolo got hurt. Did you see how
Exactly.
Garoppolo played before he got hurt?
He played horrible.
He played good. He looked like a dual threat quarterback, and he wasn't even trying to become a dual threat
When
quarterback.
they went 5-0 and he threw for like 200 yards a game.
It was good.
I
Maybe
mean,
not worth the money they were giving him, but it was good. He was a young quarterback. Remember what quarterbacks were free agents at that time? Kaepernick. All right, I'll just get to my number 3 so that we can piss Aaron off a little more. The Patriots.
You have the Patriots at 3?
I have the Patriots at 3.
That's wrong.
I'm
sorry. That's wrong.
I just think that eventually their 3 running back committee will catch up to him. I don't think it works.
Why? It keeps their running backs healthy.
It may keep the running backs healthy, but you don't get a guy who can get on a roll.
Well, they did last year in the playoffs when they gave Sonny Michel 26 carries a game.
Okay, if they can change their current way of playing, then yes, I'll move them up.
But
They're not doing what they need to do right now. They're playing decent. They're playing good. I'll give them
They're
good.
playing really good. The
But
only reason why they didn't...
I have them losing this week, and I guarantee you that if they do lose this week, every expert is going to choose to push them down a little bit. I'm going to say that they end up at like 7 if they lose to the Bills.
If they lose this week, I'll probably still have them at number 1.
I'm
just going to throw that out there. Just something with the Patriots here, why I completely disagree with you. Bill Belichick is the greatest adjuster in football history. I don't think anyone's going to debate that. He builds his team so he can adjust. He has Sonny Michel who can get 26 carries a game like he did in the playoffs. In that game against the Chiefs in the playoffs, they ran 48 times and threw 46. So that's how versatile their team is. And then they obviously have Tom Brady, who's one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, if not the best.
Alright, so my number 3 team is actually the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott is starting to look like an elite, really good quarterback. Maybe not like a Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers type thing, but like he can prove why he should be up in the conversation for like a top 10, maybe top 5. I wouldn't get that high quarterback. And Ezekiel Elliott having them helps a lot. It puts pressure off of Dak. Having Amari Cooper puts pressure off of Dak as well. He's got a good receiver to throw the ball to. And then their defense, Leighton Vander Esch, Byron Jones, Marcus Lawrence, those key players fire up the defense to put pressure on the other teams.
My number 3 team is the Baltimore Ravens. I don't really have much to add on the Cowboys. Is the Baltimore Ravens. I know they lost like last week in Kansas City, but man, they're such a good team. They're one of those versatile teams like I talked about arguing with Lucas about the Patriots. They can kind of play any style that the opposing team gives them. They ended up getting down early against the Chiefs, but they fought back into that game, which is why they're so high. And I actually considering putting them higher. But Lamar Jackson is looking great.
Number 2, I have the Rams. I don't know why this became the Jared Goff hating show. Jared Goff is a quarterback that can do what he needs to do. Gurley is a running back that can do what he needs to do. I say that the most versatile team in football right now is the Rams.
Wrong.
They have 3 amazing receivers in Kupp, Woods, and Cooks.
Yep.
And they have an even spread attack with those 3. I love their defense. I'll confidently say that the Rams are one of my favorites right now.
But Jared Goff's on the road, though, how can he utilize those 3 defenses 3 receivers when he's throwing it to the other team?
That's a fair point.
I don't care if he's had a couple bad throws. I believe in Goff. I'll say that he turns it around. If you guys really think it's bad, I don't think he's playing bad. I think he's doing what he needs to do. They're 3-0. You can't dispute the record. They are where they are.
Part of that goes to Sean McVay, kind of his schemes and his plays that he calls, the mixture, and kind of when he runs on defense, it helps ignite this team.
Okay, hold on. I just want to bring up this point. The most versatile team in football?
Yeah.
Can you explain why?
Just the fact that they can go from a run-heavy team to a pass-heavy team. I'm not saying this deep, complicated. The Patriots can do a more complicated version.
True.
They can go with a different running back here and there. But the Rams have the blocking to go from a team that throws 50 passes a game to a team that runs 40 times a game.
I would disagree that they have their blocking because their interior offensive line has been absolutely atrocious this year because they lost. I believe all 3 starters on the interior there, with John Sullivan, Austin Blythe, and Roger Saffold all leaving or being injured. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but I actually think their offensive line has been a little worse this year due to that. Which is why I believe they're kind of less versatile than a team like the Patriots, who even on defense, if we're talking about, they can go man zone. They have Stephon Gilmore, who's the best cornerback in football. Guys like J.C. Jackson, Jason McCourty out there, who can play any type of defense, which is why I have them as, obviously they're higher than the Rams.
So, number 2, I actually have the Patriots.
Guys,
The reason why they're not number one, as my pick is the Kansas City Chiefs, is because they've played like no competition. The Chiefs have played Jacksonville. They have a great defense. Baltimore, insane defense. And what Patty Mahomes has done to torch them is insane. I know Tom Brady's Tom Brady, but they've played the Jets without Sam Darnold, played Miami, who's a dumpster fire, and a Steelers team who doesn't even look like to be that great at all. So that's why I have the Chiefs over the Patriots.
and the Patriots defense, when starters win in those games, let up a total of 13 points, I believe, or something like that. Not very many. But, I don't know. I'll argue with that later. Number 2, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is amazing. We all know this. Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Travis Kelce, Damian Williams, LaShawn McCoy, Mitchell Schwartz, offensive lineman. We can go on and on their weapons. But Tyreek Hill, we don't know what's going to happen with him. He'll probably be back. Oh, excuse me. He'll probably be back soon. The reason why I don't have him at 1, A, I don't trust their running game, and 2, I don't trust their defense. That's about what it comes down to.
Number 1, I got the Chiefs. I mean, came off a good year last year. They're playing good this year. It doesn't even look like Kareem Hunt did that much for him, honestly. I know he did amazing. I know he was one of the best running backs. But Damian Williams stepped into this role perfectly. And I don't know. The Chiefs look good. I'm not going to sit here and say they don't.
And part of it is people were saying Patty Mahomes is just going to regress from here. It looks like he's still getting better. I know the weapons he has kind of helps, but the way he's developed is insane. How many great throws he can make in tight windows, the arm strength he has. Yeah.
Your number 1, I guess that was your number 1 team.
Yeah, the Chiefs.
My number 1 team, as you could probably tell, is the New England Patriots. I love Bill Belichick. He's the best coach I've ever seen. Josh McDaniels is a great play caller. They have so many guys that can rotate in. They're such a deep team, as they always are. They spend their salary cap very efficiently. They have Josh Gordon and Julian Edelman on the outside. The tight end position is up in the air still, but I think they kind of negate that with using their multiple running back sets, which they do a lot. Even in shotgun, when they have Tom Brady flanked by 2 backs, usually it would be James White and Rex Burkhead in that scenario. Their offensive line is good, not great. That's what I got. So with wrapping that up, we're going to go on to former Patriot, Antonio Brown. Lucas, take the lead here, pal.
Alrighty. We all know what happened with the sexual abuse thing. Horrible. Sexual assault. Horrible. It is terrible. He comes out. He got dropped by the Patriots. He said he wants out of the league. Today, or yesterday, somewhere in there, he did say he wants to come back. He is still the best. I'm seeing some deep psychological problems. I don't know. I would stay away from him. Le'Veon Bell came out and said that he still believes Antonio Brown is a good player. Or is a good person.
Good person, yeah.
And I don't agree with that at all. The thing that kind of got me was when I read the emails between Antonio Brown and that trainer that he sent.
Disturbing stuff.
That is very disturbing. And it almost came off as he was, like, out of his head. So I don't know what's going on through his head. Some of that stuff that was in there, it even seemed like scrambled. Like, the words that he was saying didn't really jive in a sentence. You guys think?
I did see, though, he is re-enrolling back at Central Michigan. I don't know why he's doing that, but maybe that'll get his mind right. I don't know, any thoughts on that?
I mean, that was actually really confusing to me. I don't think that's necessarily the route that he should take, unless it's just for publicity, which it almost seems like it would be, to kind of, I don't know if I want to say trick NFL teams into thinking that he's reformed, but yeah.
I think he re-enrolled in Central Michigan. It sounds like maybe he's going to try and get a life outside of football. I don't know. He's going crazy, in my opinion. Like I said, all this stuff just seems crazy. These emails are horrible. I'm sorry, I'm looking at them now, some of the comments. I mean, the sentences don't jive. About all I can say is he's a personality. I did see a few people that did say that they believe Jalen Ramsey's becoming the next Antonio Brown, and I don't agree with that. I think Jalen Ramsey's keeping his cool a lot better. I think Jalen Ramsey's just upset with Jacksonville, which is understandable. Well, partially understandable. Yeah.
I mean, if we just want to talk about Jalen Ramsey for a moment, that trade request is warranted. I think they obviously do have a great defense, but they can't put it together with their offense. Just hasn't looked good the past few years.
Maybe now when we get to the next guy.
Yeah, let's transition into
Gardner
Lucas's favorite player in the
Minshew,
NFL.
my boy. I mean, this guy is. I think he's playing well. If we're gonna go, we'll start with his play before I start talking about why I love him. He plays the game very well. He has good vision. He's consistent. I mean, his completion rating is high, in my opinion, for someone who's
Overrated stats.
okay. Not as much of an overrated stat when his receivers are people who aren't insanely good receivers. Before this,
I mean, DJ Chark looks really good.
he looks good, but he wasn't good. Last year, would you say DJ Chark was good?
No,
Exactly.
Ooh.
He makes DJ Chark look good. Changed my mind.
I would disagree with that.
Anyway.
See his touchdown grab?
Okay,
Straight
he's good.
lost.
I was joking there. He's good.
Okay.
I mean, Gardner Minshew is some of the. I also see a deep passion from him and wanting to play. I mean, if you hear about that story where he broke his own hand to get the medical red shirt,
It didn't work. He said that in a press conference, but I mean, he thought he'd try.
it was him trying to get to play more football. It's still a passion. And, I mean, the man cuts his own shorts. Can we give him credit?
Fair point.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
Anyone anything on Gardner
mean,
Minshew? I
Yeah,
mean, I'll
the-
talk
the
about him
stash
next
is
week.
what it goes.
Yeah, the stash.
It's that-
Talking about his play, I guess, what I see from it doesn't look like he's a 6th-round pick. It doesn't look like he's a rookie. Some of the throws he makes, he's not afraid to throw it into tight windows, and he's actually capable of doing that.
Moving on, let's talk about the game of the week. The kind of the game that everyone was looking forward to, which for some reason was at noon. I think I need to call Roger Goodell on that one. Ravens Chiefs. I didn't really get to watch most of it. I had to work, unfortunately. But I'll let you guys go take it away on that one.
I saw McCole Hardman show what I figured he could do. He looked like Tyreek Hill of sorts.
Yep.
The speed, he was showing it off. The touchdown, he played the way that I expected him to play. The Ravens played a good game. I think Lamar Jackson should have, I don't know. In that red zone, I still don't think he was across the line. I know he did come out and say that he was communicating with Andrews when he was waving his hands at him. I don't know if he was across the line at that point because Andrews was wide open. Maybe that's me just saying it because Andrews is on my fantasy team and I needed that
I have him
touchdown.
on the league too.
But, yeah, Marquise Brown had a weaker game, Baltimore-wise. It just didn't look like the same Baltimore offense. And that could be credit to the Chiefs' defense. That could be just maybe the play, the scheme was different. Maybe the stuff wasn't open. I don't know what it was. I just didn't. I don't know.
You also got to think they did get down early, so they can't kind of. I know they've been kind of pass first in these earlier weeks, but we all know they want to be a run first team with Mark Ingram and Lamar Jackson. They got the guys to do it. They're big up front, and if you get down early, you can't really establish a running game like you normally would like to. So I think that played a big part in it.
I wasn't really able to watch this game, but looking at the stats kind of early on throughout the first half, it looked like Lamar kind of struggled to throw the ball. The Chiefs' defense was putting pressure on him, and he just wasn't really comfortable as to like these worst teams, the Arizona, Miami. But as the second half came on, it seems like he was picking it up, and they were looking to make a comeback. Just Patrick Mahomes was able to outscore him, and yeah.
Let's talk about my guys in Minnesota. We bounced back versus Oakland. Our defense looked really good. I understand it was against Oakland, but their offense isn't as bad as people want to make it out to be. Derek Carr's an okay quarterback.
Whoa. Not an okay quarterback.
Josh.
No way in hell should a team have a Carr starting at quarterback. I've said that since David Carr.
But if you
Maybe I was the only one watching football around David
if
Carr.
we look a couple years back, Derek Carr would have been the MVP if he was
Okay.
healthy.
post-injury. Same with David Carr. He wasn't that bad in the beginning of his career.
True.
After that injury, I think it was a pinky too. It just looks like Derek Carr isn't the same. Like
I think he's still an okay. I don't think he's great, but I think he's okay. I think he's serviceable.
Look at his.
And I'm starting to think maybe it's some to believe on the receivers. I mean, Waller's amazing, but I don't see a
Walrus.
consistent receiver out there. Tyrell Williams,
looked good.
he looks good, but he's not getting the targets that he should if they were going to, like, call him a number one. I mean, the fact that no one talked about J.J. Nelson before this week, and J.J. Nelson led in receptions other than Waller, that's horrible to me. I think it just shows that Carr doesn't have a receiver he fully trusts. Obviously, quarterbacks normally hit their tight ends.
Yeah, he
hit Waller hard.
13 for 134 on 14 targets. Yeah, I mean, actually, Darren Waller is a converted
And
wide receiver.
I feel like some of it also was, I think that Carr got pressured a little bit because they couldn't really turn to the run because Jacobs was getting eaten up by that Minnesota defense. Credit to the Minnesota defense. They looked amazing.
And
big Linval up front to help out.
it doesn't help that your defense gives up, what was it, like 34 points?
34, yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to help the offense at all.
Let's move on to Ashton's team. He was actually there at Lambeau, so let's talk about your
Yeah,
experience.
I had a great time at the game. It was exciting to watch. And as for the game itself, I was once again impressed with our defense. We had 6 sacks for a Packer team. That's incredible. We had 3 takeaways against, I know it's the Broncos, but
It's Joe Flacco. Don't take any credit on that.
I have some breaking news here for us Twins fans. Rocco Baldelli has informed Jose Barrios that he will probably start Game 1 of the ALDS
good
in either
deal.
New York or Houston.
Good deal.
So
As I was saying, it's Joe Flacco. Don't take credit for that. It's Joe Flacco.
We lead the league in takeaways with 8 takeaways when we played the Vikings and the Bears and, I mean, Joe Flacco. But the Vikings and Bears are not washed up teams. They're good teams. And as for the offense, though, I mean, it seems like we're getting better. I mean, we finally put up a second half score, which is good to see. But Rodgers still needs to. Yeah, I think he's getting used to the offense a little bit. But the run game, we have a great mixture with Jones and Williams. And honestly, I think we need to find a third receiver. We have Devontae and Marquez. And then after that, it's just a big question mark.
I think they're still expecting Geronimo Allison to step up into that slot receiver role.
I think Ellison can do it too. I think before that concussion last year, he looked amazing.
And another thing, they do want him in the slot, which he really never played before this year. I want to say he was around 13% of his snaps were in the slot, which is really low for a guy that you want to be in there constantly. So I think they're kind of just adjusting to having him in the slot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing too. I mean, he saw in that Minnesota game that amazing grab he had, but that was kind of shadowed by his fumble later in the game. And, I mean, but I feel like he could be a great number 3.
Anything to add, Lucas? I don't really have anything. Let's talk about your team with Kyle Allen blowing out Arizona.
Kyle Allen. I knew that we were going to be fine without Cam Newton. No, I didn't. I did say Will Grier was projected to be the starter. I know they were high on him in training camp, and I didn't even look at a depth chart. I just went with my gut. They ended up going with Kyle Allen. Great decision. I think he looked good. I mean, Arizona's defense blows, don't get me wrong, but he looked good. Good is good, I guess. I mean, McCaffrey had 24 carries for 153 yards, so I mean, yeah, they were all around playing pretty well. Yeah, Arizona, to me, it wouldn't be that bad of a team. They're doing what they can. I mean, Christian Kirk had 10 receptions. They just got to get him going deeper. He can't break a tackle. He's just fast.
Yeah, I'm kind of off the Kyle Allen train. They played the worst defense in football.
Get on the Kyle Allen train.
I think Miami has.
Miami at least has they have a star in Xavier Howard. They have a star, and then they have Kiko Alonso. Or am I thinking right? Kiko Alonso, who is an above average linebacker. Arizona's got nobody. Patrick Peterson's out. Chandler Jones is old.
Can you give Hassan Reddick a little bit of recognition?
He's just fast.
He's a decent edge rusher.
I don't know.
My question to you guys is, if Kyle Allen keeps...
Oh, wait, hold on, Ashton. And Buda Baker? Buda Baker is a good D-back. Sorry,
he's,
Ashton.
He's okay.
You can go back
He's
to your
okay.
thing. I'm
they have,
sorry.
They have 2 above-average players.
I'll ask.
Same thing as Miami.
Miami's got better above-average
Oh, okay, Lucas. I'll ask you this first, and then Aaron, you can chip in. If Kyle Allen keeps balling out, is it time to start moving on from Cam Newton?
No, I think they should move Kyle Allen first. I think, honestly, that if they could just use Kyle Allen as trade bait, it would help them more because the team's not very good outside of McCaffrey. If I'm being honest,
The receiving core, I
do like the receiving core too. I like those two; they're good. It'd be cool if they could move Samuel to the slot. He reminds me more of a slot receiver.
I think actually DJ Moore would be just as
Either
good.
or. I
Yeah,
mean, they're both speed receivers.
They complement each other very well. Their speed.
Yeah, that's honestly, I wouldn't trade Cam Newton. I'd keep him around
I'm not saying trade him or yet.
or release him. I'd keep him. Is what I'm saying. I'd move Kyle Allen
If
he was
Cam
that
Newton's
good.
back, you're starting Cam Newton, no questions asked. I'm sorry, but that's just how it's going to go.
He's an amazing runner as a quarterback, and I don't care. I love Kyle Allen, and I'm going to support the crap out of him, but Cam Newton's first.
Daniel effing Jones is what I put here. Danny Dimes, whatever you want to call him. He looked really good against a bad defense. I'll let you guys elaborate on that if you'd like.
I'm not sold on Daniel Jones at all. I still don't like him. You guys can watch him crumble in the next few weeks and then come back and inform us that we're right by shouting us out on Twitter or whatever because he's going to crumble. He doesn't have what's necessary, and now that he doesn't have Barkley to turn to, I think you're going to see him
He didn't have him
struggle.
last week either, though.
Okay, but still.
Yeah.
It was against a bad defense, like I said. I don't think he can do what he did against the top half defense.
But I think he will have another good week this week. He plays Washington.
I actually
Washington's defense is another one of those
underrated,
bottom
in
tiers.
my opinion.
But they're
You
all-
could say any bad team's underrated and
No, I
look a
think
little
their
smart.
defense is underrated. But if we do want to talk about Washington for a second, Dwayne Haskins starting, which we actually don't have in the outline here. It looks like Dwayne Haskins is going to start, which will be fun.
I
Two
don't know
rookie
if
guys.
it's really a smart move, or maybe for John.
Well, what I will mention is they did talk about Colt McCoy coming back. His first practice was today. I don't know how many people are out there still rooting for Colt McCoy,
Oh yeah, you got to.
but what if he could emerge? I mean, obviously they're trying to step back to ground three. They know that they need to do something. If Haskins starts out bad, I could see him turning to McCoy as a help.
I think the
moment.
worst thing to do to a rookie quarterback
Is turn away
bench
from
a
him.
rookie quarterback.
But I don't think that Washington's smart enough not to bench a rookie quarterback.
That's true.
I don't think they're smart enough. I think they should just keep him benched and just wait until maybe the last couple of weeks. Don't throw him into a dumpster fire. I mean, it would just be a terrible thing to see, especially with Trent Williams out for them.
I mean, you guys might disagree with me, but I think Jay Gruden's ass is on fire right now. He's on the hot seat. I think he could go anytime here, especially if this Dwayne Haskins thing.
I think a lot of
doesn't go
it'll
good.
come down to the Gruden name, that they'll end up sticking with him for a little bit longer.
I think they've stuck with him long enough, though. I'm not sure. how long
I think
he's been
everyone's
tenured there,
I think everyone thinks that it's been long enough.
Mhm.
But who was the coach a few years ago?
Talking about Mike Shanahan.
I am Mike Shanahan. I mean, I think they're just trying to stay optimistic that they have another Mike Shanahan, and they don't.
Yeah. Anything else to add on Daniel Jones or Dwayne Haskins? Have a quick topic here about Taco Charlton getting released from the Cowboys. A very surprising move, I would say. He's been a good player the last few years.
Yeah, I've liked him lately. I did some quick research, and I just looked at defensive teams that needed an edge rusher, defensive end kind of player. And the 4 teams I came up with, I guarantee you that I will get something after I say this. Packers, Chiefs, Cardinals, obviously. Cardinals defense is a dumpster fire.
Mm-hmm.
And Broncos.
The issue with all of those teams that you mentioned, he doesn't fit any of their schemes. He is a
Regardless.
4-3 defensive end, and he doesn't fit any of those 3-4 schemes you just mentioned.
But the problem is any team that runs a 4-3 already has an edge rusher that they want to stick with.
My team, the Vikings, could actually use some depth at edge rusher.
I don't think.
Because that's.
I think Taco Charlton has a little too much attitude to come in as a backup.
Yeah.
I think he wants to be told he's going to start day in, day out.
Yeah. Well, the reason I say the Vikings is because the thing that they've lacked in the past few years is depth at every position. Because they do spend top heavy on their they spend market value on their players, which we kind of have to do in this day and age unless your name is Bill Belichick. So the thing that they've lacked is depth, and I think if you can get him on a reasonable contract and stay under the salary cap, I think he would be a great addition.
It's just too bad that he's on the Miami Dolphins out of all the teams in the league.
Yeah.
But I mean, that might be a way to prove himself to get a good enough contract for a good enough team.
And then I think the Dolphins are just kind of using him as trade bait, to be honest.
Yeah.
Get a 5th round pick out of him or something. Let's go with Lucas to the injuries.
Alrighty. Injuries last week. There's 2 I want to bring up. My first one is Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
Obviously, he's going to hurt, but what I will say is I think Gallman is capable of not producing Saquon numbers, not even close to it, but I think you could see a running back that's just hard worker. I don't know how I want to say it.
He's kind of...
I like him, personally.
I wouldn't say he's not a good running back, in my opinion. He'll be serviceable while Saquon's out. Once Saquon's back, he won't play. I'm sorry to say it. The Giants don't want to use 2 running backs. They drafted Saquon at 2 for a reason. So, yeah. I mean, in fantasy, if he's on your waivers, might as well pick him up and start him. He'll score some points for you.
But it looked like, too, with Saquon going out, I mean, the Giants could have hit the panic button. Like, Daniel Jones doesn't have some help. But Daniel Jones, without Saquon, still played amazing. He was able to scramble well, still make some incredible throws. Even you still got Evan Ingram. I mean, that helps a lot. But
yeah.
I don't think you need to hit the panic button too much until you play these great and tough defenses.
Another thing I'll mention quick is Saquon. I could see Saquon falling into the same problem that Cam Newton did. The whole too much of a go-getter attitude and tries to work through this injury. I mean, we're talking about Cam Newton not playing again this year because of this injury because Cam didn't want to stop and let it heal. Saquon's in a walking boot. It's pretty easy to get yourself carried away in one of those and do too much. And if he doesn't fully recover, we could see another injury that is worse scale. We could see him not come back strong. I just hope the Saquon stays smart.
Yeah, I think he will because the Giants suck. It's true. I think he does have the self-awareness to say, like, this team is bad. We have a bad offensive line. I kind of have to do everything. Even with Daniel Jones there, Saquon's the man. So, anything to that?
My other injury, Keanu Neal.
Huge injury for the Falcons.
Yeah, he's obviously going to be a big hit, but I do want to talk about what happened there. He tore his Achilles. He was very emotional. He took his helmet and he threw it, and he did get penalized for that. And I full-heartedly disagree with that. I understand it's a hazard and you want to avoid it, but you need to be able to observe that a guy's laying on the ground and he threw his helmet. There's no way that someone's going to actually do that and not hurt. And I just hope that ref doesn't get the chance to do that again because that is so stupid.
Yeah, and talking about how this injury impacts the Falcons, he was hurt last year too, it's really unfortunate for him. I was a big fan of the Falcons coming into this year, and actually continuing through weeks 1, 2, and 3. They did have a rough start, but I still think that they could have made it into the playoffs and won that division, the NFC South. But after that injury, I do have them falling out.
Yeah, and going off of your point, with him injured, not even just him injured last year, they had so many injuries last year, even the year before, it seemed like they just can't catch a break with the injury bug. It's just devastating to see for them, trying to make a great playoff run.
Yeah, and Keanu is so important to that team because he's one of the leaders of that defense along with Deion Jones and Desmond Trufant. He's one of those leaders. On to something we'll do every 3 to 4 weeks or so, our NFL playoff predictions. These are the early season ones, so if this doesn't happen, we're sorry. But yeah, this is just kind of what we think is going to happen in the playoffs. Lucas, we can start with you if you'd like.
All right. Well, I'll be honest with you guys. I picked my records, and I predicted teams to keep going what they were doing. So when you guys see this and think that I'm crazy, I am crazy. I've accepted that. So we'll start out my wild card teams. I did have Buffalo and Jacksonville. I do think that Gardner Minshew is going to be absolutely amazing for Jacksonville. I think that they're not that bad of a team. I see a lot of harping on them, but they have a very good offense. With Fournette, I think Fournette will turn around. I like them. I think their defense will hold up. Obviously, it's going to hurt to lose Ramsey, but they seem to be adjusting fairly well.
You said you have them. What seed do you have them at?
4.
Okay, so you have them winning the division. That makes sense.
And then, I have them over Buffalo. I do have Buffalo in the wild card because they are 3-0. They look.
Seed?
Yes.
Okay.
My 6 is the Chargers. I do think they, especially with Melvin Gordon. I did this before Melvin Gordon did say he's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So that should put him up a little bit more. And my 3 was New England. I think they're going to lose.
I can understand.
I think they're going to lose a couple of stupid games here and there. And that's just going to be the way the cookie crumbles, essentially. Out in the NFC, I say we buy into Kyle Allen. I got Carolina at 5.
Okay.
I got Dallas at 4. I do have Carolina winning the game over Dallas, personally. I think that it's going to be the lack of playoff coaching from Kellen Moore that'll get to him. A lot of it is about this playoff experience stuff, and yeah.
Do you have Cam Newton coming back?
I don't give a crap. It's going to happen the same way either way.
Okay.
I got the Giants
You're not serious.
at 6.
And you hate Daniel
Wait,
Jones.
the Giants. Who do you have falling out? Oh, okay. I won't even say it.
You hate Daniel Jones.
I do hate Daniel Jones, but at the same time, they do have a lighter schedule.
I'm
They're-
sorry. I'm confused.
And then I have San Fran because they're still 3-0.
Okay, both of those are wrong. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
Okay, maybe I could understand San Fran, but the Giants. Have you seen their defense?
It's horrible.
It's atrocious.
But what terrible team's going to make the playoffs this year?
None of them. There's 10 good teams in the NFC that can make the playoffs realistically. I'll read them off to you. Minnesota, Green Bay, Chicago, New Orleans, Carolina, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Dallas, LA, and San Francisco.
Did you say Atlanta?
Yes, they can make the playoffs.
They're not a good team that can make the playoffs.
I think they are.
They're off.
Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, you're going to go against that with
Matt
Calvin
Ryan
Ridley.
looks horrible this year.
But he can turn it around. He's one of those.
Okay,
he's one of
then
the
we're
best-
buying into the turn it around theory, and I
It's-
don't look that stupid.
It's early in the year. They have more weapons too. Calvin Ridley, Mohamed Sanu, Austin Hooper, the running game.
And a new offense.
I'm just saying, stupid crap happens every year in the NFL.
Not that stupid.
And I'm trying to predict these stupid crap.
Okay.
It's my early season. I got to try and be a little bold.
Okay.
They'll get smarter as we go, but right now I was just throwing stuff at the wall to see if it sticks.
Okay.
Next, in my divisional round, I do have Baltimore over New England.
Okay.
I just don't know how it's going to happen. Lamar Jackson, I think, is going to end up hitting another level when he hits the playoffs. We'll see how it goes. And then, for shits and giggles, I have Jacksonville beating Kansas City.
Oh my.
I don't think it's that unrealistic, but
Oh
I
my
would disagree
God.
with that.
Ah.
Get off of Patrick Mahomes' lap, Ashton.
I will not.
And then Minnesota over San Fran. And then
So do you have Minnesota as the 2 seed? Or the 1 seed?
2. I have New Orleans as the 1.
Okay.
Kamara. I do have them winning next. Next up, I do have Minnesota beating New Orleans in the conference game, however you want to say it.
That's fine.
Again, it's just Kamara. Pretty basic.
I'd love to see that happen because the Vikings have had some interesting pass with New Orleans. We won't get into that.
2010.
Whoops. And then I have Baltimore over Jacksonville. I'm glad Jacksonville made it this far. I do think they do have potential to do it because crazy things happen. Again, hey, it's my first one. I wanted to be crazy.
Gardner Stash.
Gardner. Love Gardner Minshew. So I'm down to Baltimore winning the Super Bowl. And I say that.
Over Minnesota?
Indeed. I do say that. Just Lamar Jackson is on a whole new level.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go in depth deep yet. I'm going to save it for my next one. My next one will be longer winded and everything, but I just was going to be quick and basic with you guys.
I mean, I think that's a great pick to win the Super Bowl. It's not my pick personally, but I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a wrong pick, but you complain about me riding Patrick Mahomes, and then you're over here riding Lamar Jackson. So that's all I'll say.
Nah, he's the Gardner guy.
Yeah, it's Gardner. 100% Gardner.
All right, Ashton, let's hear your.
Okay, I wasn't as too into depth with Aaron and Lucas's predictions. I just gave my seedings and then my Super Bowl prediction. So we'll start with the AFC. My 2 wildcard teams. 6th seed, I have the Bills. I think they'll barely make it with how much of a hot start they've gotten so far. And then I actually have the Texans not winning their division as the 5 seed.
No. No teams in that conference deserve that other than maybe Jacksonville.
I just think the division winner should be in. I don't think there's a wild card.
Yeah, the AFC South is soft this year. I don't know who you had as a division winner, and I don't care. There's no reason that Houston makes it as a wild card.
At 4, I have the Ravens.
At 4? Whoa.
At 4?
Yeah, I think they'll have some few questionable losses. Maybe Lamar has a bad game, sophomore year. And at 3, this is who I have winning the division over the Texans. I actually have Jacoby Brissett and the Indianapolis Colts winning the division.
I like Marlon Mack right now. I like Jacoby Brissett right now, so I won't say too much about it, but
Before, when Andrew Luck retired, I said don't pump the brakes and push the panic button too much. Jacoby was fine. I mean, he didn't really have an all-line, so... All right, and then my 2 first-round buys, I have the Patriots as the 2 seed and then the Chiefs as the 1 seed. I think the Chiefs will pull it off, get the number 1 seed. And now to the NFC. At the 6th seed in the wild card, I have the Vikings. I think they'll make it in barely with the defense and run game kind of carrying that team. Then at 5, I have the Seahawks in the wild card game as well. And so for my number 4 seed, the home teams of the wildcard game, I got the Saints. I think their record, with how well some of the NFC teams have gotten off to a great start, they will be probably the worst record team, even though they still might have a great record. Then my 3 seed, I think, will be the Cowboys. I think when they play tougher competition, their record will kind of fall off a little bit. Dak might not be as great. And then my wildcard teams, the 2nd seed, will be the Rams. Sean McVay will figure out a way and get that team just as great as they are. That offense is still really good, even though I kind of hate on Jared Goff, just on the road, though. And then as my 1 seed, I have the Packers. I feel like that offense will be able to figure it out, especially with Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest QBs of all time. And then that defense, he actually has some help. And now on to my Super Bowl.
Unbiased Packers pick. Sorry. I was trying to hold it back, but I couldn't keep it out.
We're off to a 3-0 start.
I mean, you have the Panthers up there, don't you?
Touche. I imagine the Vikings are up there for you, too.
Yeah,
it's the early season. We all want to pretend that our teams have a chance.
I think the Vikings and Packers do have a chance.
Yeah.
I think the Panthers have a chance. Screw you.
There you go. That's why I put them in there.
All right, and now this is more biased. I have the Packers, obviously, in the Super Bowl. And I have them playing the guy I love a lot, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But I feel like that defense won't help him out when it comes to clutch time, and I think that's why the Packers, will clutch up and win the Super Bowl.
I'm just saying that if that Super Bowl happened, I would literally watch that game 1,000 times on repeat and not get bored. That would be the funnest game I've ever seen ever.
A lot of people were saying that last year, though. A lot of people were saying that last year. Or the Rams-Chiefs one.
No.
Before the game, there was a lot of people talking about that.
But
and
Aaron
I fell asleep during that Super Bowl.
The 2 most talented quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. I don't care. You argue with me all you want. The 2 most talented quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. I think the only guy you could even argue is also up there would maybe be John Elway. Yeah, argue with me all you want if you'd like to.
Go ahead, Lucas.
I have no arguments. You can say what you want.
I guess only time will tell, though, with these predictions.
Anything to add on your Super Bowl? All right, let's get into mine. I'll just go through the AFC wildcard matchups. At the 6th seed, I have the Chargers going 8-8, barely sneaking in. I also have the Bills at 8-8 and the Colts, Jags, both all at 8-8 too. But I have the Chargers getting the tiebreaker over those teams due to divisional record. And I have them playing the 3-seeded Baltimore Ravens at 12-4 actually as a 3 seed. It's kind of surprising. I've been going 5-1 in their division. So that's that matchup. I'll say the winners in a second. At the 5 seed, I have the Cleveland Browns going 10-6, finishing second in the AFC North, along with the Houston Texans as a 4 seed, finishing 9-7, winning the AFC South barely. The winners of those games, I have Cleveland upsetting Houston in a close one. I think that their weapons on the outside are too dangerous, and I think Cleveland's secondary is a lot better than Houston's, so that's why I have them upsetting them. And in the Chargers-Baltimore matchup, I have Baltimore sneaking past that one. And what I will think will be a close game, but I think Lamar Jackson's just better than Philip Rivers straight up. In the NFC, as a 6th seed, I have the Green Bay Packers. That might be surprising to some people, but you got to remember that there can only be one division winner, and then the 5-6 seeds are the wild card. I have them going 11-5 and finishing in the 6th seed. That's how stacked I think the NFC is. And I have them playing the 3-seeded Rams at 11-5 as well. But I have them going 2-4 in their division because I feel like they kind of do. They might underestimate teams like Arizona and San Francisco. In the other matchup, I have Dallas at the 5 seed, not winning their division actually. Going 11-5, 4-2 in the division versus the 4-seeded New Orleans Saints at 10-6, just barely winning their division due to a divisional record against Carolina.
Wow, yeah, go Carolina.
I haven't finished in 10-6. So, you know.
Okay.
And then I actually have both wildcard teams winning in those matchups. I just think coaching quarterbacks better. Maybe not coaching, but just the offense in general is better on the 2 wildcard teams. On to the divisional round. In the AFC, Lucas is getting tired over there. He's had a long night. I have the 1-seeded Patriots beating the 5-seeded Browns in a close one. And then I have the 2-seeded Chiefs beating the 3-seeded Browns again. Ravens. What I think will be a really fun game to watch. In the NFC, I have the 2-seeded Eagles beating the 5-seeded Cowboys in a fun matchup. And then I have the 1-seeded Vikings beating the 6-seeded Green Bay Packers. And what'll be another great game. Those 2 really good teams. And then I have both 1-seeds advancing. I have New England beating Kansas City. In New England, I think that'll be a tough matchup for Kansas City. And then I have the Vikings going to the Super Bowl. Yes, call me biased. I don't care because I am biased.
I was biased as well.
Yeah.
So.
I'm glad that mine was definitely the most realistic out of these 3.
Yeah, for sure. So Minnesota versus New England in the Super Bowl. And then I have the best team in football with the greatest coach of all time winning the Super Bowl over the Vikings. I left my stomach going off. Alrighty. Ashton, you want to take it over for MLB? Or Lucas, actually. Sorry about that.
All right, so Cardinals swept the Cubs. I don't got many comments about this. Obviously, it's not a surprise. Cardinals are the best team in baseball. I mean, whatever. You guys got anything?
Just what the Cubs have, the injury bug just hit them. Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, that hurt their offense a lot. Their bullpen just hasn't been effective at all, kind of like the Twins. I would say last year their bullpen wasn't giving them help at all. So,
yeah, I'm just going to combine these next 2 topics here. The Cubs, all Cubs fans should be embarrassed right now. You can't have a 6-game losing streak at this time of year, especially if you're competing for a playoff spot. You want your team to be as competitive as possible, and it's just embarrassing for all Cubs fans. St. Louis, props to them. They played really well in sweeping the Cubs, I think. I don't know how good they can do in October. Paul Goldschmidt's playing okay. He hasn't had a great year, though. So, yeah, that's what I got.
Don't get me started on Goldschmidt. Oh, my God. I had a million yelling comments going through my head at once. Whatever. Cubs, 6-game losing streak. All I'm really going to say on it is baseball streaks, and it happened.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
I mentioned it a little bit in my.
Yeah, they talked about it before, but I made it its own separate category because I expected people to want to say more. Well, you boys can talk about your Twins now. It's a good day for you guys.
Yes.
We won the division finally for the first time since 2010. Most likely we're going to end up playing the Yankees in the divisional round, which will be an amazing series, I think. We might be able to beat them finally, which I'm excited about. Our bats are just, they've been all year. We hit our 300th homer today, which is MLB record, obviously, as we all know. I think they do have some issues with starting pitching. We don't know who's going to be 3 and 4 in that rotation for the playoffs, and we need to figure out the front end of our bullpen. I think the back end of our bullpen's kind of figured out with Romo and Rogers, but we need to figure out who's going to get that 7th inning and 6th inning in the playoffs.
Yeah, it seems like we're very inconsistent. Some days, some front relievers are good, and then other days our lead collapses. And Jose, hopefully he turns into all-star Jose, but I'm just glad we're playing the Yankees with how bad their pitching has been.
And like I mentioned earlier, Rocco Baldelli did tell Jose Barrios that he's probably going to be the Game 1 starter. So I would have did the same thing if I was them. So yeah, anything else to?
All right, I'll kick it over to Ashton. He's going to give us a couple brief comments here.
All right, so college football had some amazing games this week, including a couple big upsets. One upset was USC. They went and beat Utah. And then the game of the night, Georgia-Notre Dame. Georgia was able to outlast Notre Dame barely. And then everybody was probably asleep when this happened. UCLA's big comeback win. And then a big annihilation with Wisconsin demolishing Michigan.
Yeah, John.
I'll go first. I'll be honest with you. Jonathan Taylor looked so good, and
a big game, Wisconsin versus Michigan. What Wisconsin did to Michigan, just demolishing them, just crazy.
Jonathan Taylor looked like a leader amongst men. He played amazing. I would never have predicted Wisconsin to kill Michigan, but it happened.
Yeah, Wisconsin. They looked amazing. What can I say? Michigan didn't look good at all. I'm worried to see what they're gonna do. It's a tough Big Ten this year. A lot of high-level teams, especially in the top 25. And Jonathan Taylor's the man.
And it just seems like Jim Harbaugh might be on the hot seat with how long he's been at Michigan and hasn't been able to do anything, get him in the college football playoff. It's just very interesting. And so, right now, after probably a few weeks of college football, what would we say are our Heisman favorites? Just a quick idea.
For me, it's probably, Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Hurts, and Tua are probably my top 3 right now if I had to give 3.
I'm just going to say I'm going to say Taylor and
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. I am getting really tired really fast. I think Hurts is playing really well, and there's the whole Oklahoma transfer quarterback thing. And like I said, Taylor looks amazing.
Yeah, I agree with Jalen Hurts saying he's my number 1. And then Tua, obviously, still incredible. He's right behind him.
Yeah. Moving it over to next week, NFL, we're just kind of going to look forward to the top games, and we'll pick some games to look at and analyze. Ashton, we can start off with your game to analyze.
Okay, my game is Baltimore at home against Cleveland. Now, for Cleveland, I feel like this is a must-win game for them. Their next few games are brutal. At San Francisco, then they play Seattle, at New England, at Denver, and then they play Buffalo, who are off to amazing starts. And with this Baltimore team, Lamar Jackson has been off to a great start. That entire team has been. They just came off a tough loss against the Chiefs, but that doesn't mean that they're bad or anything regressing. Looking at the Ravens' defense, though, their passing defense hasn't been good. They're 29th in passing yards a game, but the rush defense has been pretty good. They're only 3rd in rushing yards per game.
Just a quick thing to add. I actually kind of disagree with having a bad pass defense. I think the reason that that stat is so tilted one way is simply because they've gone up in weeks 1 and 2 anyway. They got out to really early leads, so the team kind of had to pass to get back into the game. So that's why I kind of think that that stat is a little skewed. And they also play Patrick Mahomes, who will throw for 350 yards against anybody.
But I will say, though, it's fine that their pass defense hasn't been as great because looking at the Browns' offense, they haven't really done much on offense. It's been their defense that's kind of been really effective. Speaking of their defense, they're 10th in only passing yards allowed per game, and then only 14th in rushing yards allowed per game. And they've been able to get to the quarterback a lot, getting 10 sacks. Only 4 takeaways on the year, though, but I feel like Baltimore has a great shot to win this game.
Lucas, you want to do your breakdown?
I'll be pretty broad about it, but I did Jacksonville and Denver. I think that game deserves to be its own game. No one wants to talk about it. They're two not very good teams, but I wanted to talk about how much I like Jacksonville right now. They're playing pretty hot. Minshew, Chark, and Fournette. The defense without Ramsey is looking pretty good. The Broncos are bad. Flacco is bad. Lindsey looks good, but he's still not going to be enough to win this game. And the Jags have a great run defense. Miles Jack is a good linebacker up the middle.
Maybe the best linebacker in football, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's all I got.
My game to break down, you guys probably could have guessed it. Bears-Vikings. This is a ginormous game early in the season due to this NFC North being so close, and even the NFC in general. This could be a big matchup for the Bears if they want to go for a wild card, especially, even for the Vikings. I do like this matchup for the Vikes. I just think that their defensive line is really good compared to the Bears' offensive line. I think they kind of dominate the line of scrimmage. And Chicago still hasn't established a consistent running game because of their lack of usage of David Montgomery, who I will pound the table for is one of the best running backs in football already at this point. Coming out of Iowa State, dude.
No, not right now.
I'm saying like when I say one of the best, I mean like top 12.
Okay.
I'm not saying like top.
A little more reasonable.
Yeah, I'm not saying top 5.
He should be starting.
I think, but like if you watch this guy play, he is electric every time he touches the ball. He doesn't get like the Bears' offensive line has not been great run blocking at all. For some reason, they try to use Mike Davis and Tariq Cohen. I get Tariq Cohen; he can line up in the slot and stuff. But Mike Davis, get him out of here. He doesn't need carries. And it's going to come down, like I said, it's going to come down to who controls the line of scrimmage. I believe the Vikings' offensive line can play better this week. They played better last week, but in Green Bay, they did not look good. I just think it comes down to who controls the line of scrimmage. And, both teams do have great D-lines. The Bears' D-line, we all know, Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman, Khalil Mack. We can talk about them all day. And Dalvin Cook is still the man, as we all know. I think he'll be able to run all over this Bears defense. Roquan Smith will be an issue, but I think Garrett Bradbury can get to the second level fast enough to help block on those gap running schemes. And then Mike Hughes will also be in his second week back, which is a big, big addition. I do like him more than Mackenzie Alexander in the slot for the Vikings, who will probably be matched up with Taylor Gabriel most of the game. That's all I got. And if you're going to make me pick a winner, I'm going to take the Vikings in a close one. Comes down to maybe a game-winning drive or maybe a failed game-winning drive by the Bears. Alrighty. On to our next topic. Thursday night game. That's actually tonight, so you guys will be hearing this after the game happened. We're just going to do a quick breakdown on our score predictions.
All right, Eagles-Packers. What I will say is I think that Miles Sanders will have a good game. I'm big on Miles Sanders right now. He looked better last week. The offensive coordinator and head coach are both showing a lot of confidence in him. They're not harping on him for his mistakes. They're letting him develop, and I like that. I feel like eventually he can become a lone back there. Eventually, not right away. Obviously, they still want. I think they still want Jordan Howard to kind of alternate with him. If you're gonna make me put a score on it, I'm gonna say 17-14, and I'm gonna have to side with Philadelphia, based off of a couple of Green Bay missed field goals. I think Green Bay will have more scoring opportunities, but I think that Philadelphia will make it when it matters.
I'll let you go.
Oh, you want me to go? I think this is a huge game, especially for the Eagles. They're 1-2. They're going to be desperate. The Packers may be a little bit, leisurely, especially coming off a short week. They don't want to, get banged up and stuff. I'm just going to throw this out there. I hate the concept of Thursday Night Football. I think it gets players hurt, and I'm completely against this game, just in general. I think it should be gone. It's fun to watch, but I don't think there's any place for it in a sport like football when you give players less time to rest. I think that's just wrong. But yeah, I think the Eagles, their D line is very good. You have guys like Fletcher Cox who can absolutely ruin a game, especially with the Packers' interior offensive line being a little weak. I think you have to watch out for him. And Aaron Rodgers is going to be shaking in his boots back there with 91 coming up the middle. And I believe Alshon Jeffrey is back for the Eagles, which is big.
He is.
So yeah, for me, I have Eagles 27-24. And I think that Fletcher Cox has upwards of 3 sacks in this game.
I will say, though, they have a couple of big injuries. Deshaun Jackson's still out. That hurts a lot as a deep threat because Nelson Aguilar, he drops a lot of passes. You can't really trust him. And then Ronald Darby, that's a huge hit for them with their secondary. And the Packers, their offense is looking to have a big game coming up shortly. These first 3 weeks haven't been too impressive, at least for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he hasn't turned the ball over.
Yeah, I was going to say he hasn't thrown a pick yet.
But, I mean, his yards and his touchdowns aren't where we'd like him to. And I really hope we get Devontae Adams involved. I mean, I feel like he can be up there in, like, maybe a top 5 conversation if he can start balling and we start feeding him the ball. And let's not forget, our defense is, I mean, our run defense still scares me, but the Eagles haven't been running the ball as much, so that's maybe where we can take advantage of that, but maybe they will run it tight. But we've been really good at getting pressure on the quarterback, and I just see us winning 24-17, a good close one.
It'd be great if Devontae Adams could step up a little bit. I've got him in multiple fantasy leagues. But yeah, so this will be our final topic for the NFL this week, at least for the next week's games. It'll be New England versus Buffalo. Both 3-0 teams playing really good. So
alrighty, Buffalo. I tell you what, I do have them winning. I've said that earlier. I'm riding the Buffalo train right now. I like their defense. I think Singletary will be back. I've seen a lot of limiteds and not practicing lately, so maybe he won't. Even if he isn't, I do see John Brown stepping up for a great game. And I just think that New England's going to overlook Buffalo because they're playing Buffalo, and Buffalo never beats New England. But if a team's going to pull something, I think it's this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. The past 5 matchups, I mean, New England has won, but Tom Brady is getting older and on the road. You've seen it past couple of years. He kind of tends to struggle on the road, and Buffalo's defense isn't that bad. They've got some elite playmakers on that defense, and their offense has improved a lot more. Josh Allen, it seems like, is improving a lot too, so that's why I'll take Buffalo on this one.
Yeah, just looking at the injury report, Devin Singletary did not practice yesterday. We don't have the injury report for Thursday, sadly. John Brown didn't practice. Tre'Davious White was limited. John Brown was just for rest, though. So, yeah. If I'm going to talk about this game, I do have New England winning, but I could understand the point of giving the game to Buffalo because they are at home and they do have, as I mentioned earlier, one of the best coaches in football in Sean McDermott, great adjuster in the game. I don't really have much to add here. I just think that I do have New England pulling out a close one. I believe the spread is -7.5 to New England, though, so if you guys like that, it's a pretty good line for Buffalo.
About that
okay.
a little bit later.
Okay, my bad.
Alrighty, MLB playoffs are fast approaching, so we're going to get in more depth next week, but before the starting pitchers get announced, I know Barrios got announced today, but otherwise we're going to predict who the pitchers are going to be. Maybe a short explanation for each, but this should go pretty quick. First team, Yankees. I have Tanaka personally.
I have James Paxton. I just think that he's a better pitcher straight up.
Yeah, I have James Paxton as well.
Next up, we already said Twins or Barrios. So Astros, I have Garrett Cole personally.
Garrett Cole does lead the league in strikeouts. I do like him, but I don't see any reason why they wouldn't go with Justin Verlander. He's probably going to get the Cy Young in the AL this year. So.
Yeah, Verlander is just an elite, all-time great pitcher.
Yep.
For the A's, I have Anderson.
You're just wrong on everything. I have Mike Fiers for the A's. They don't have it locked up in the wild card yet, along with the Rays. The Indians could still sneak in there, but it's not looking very good for them. So yeah, I have Mike Fiers.
So do I.
Rays, I got Blake Snell.
Wrong again, Lucas. Charlie Morton's probably going to start game 1 for them. Should be in the Cy Young conversation this year. He's had a great.
It's like you're reading off of my note sheet. I also have him.
I think you're reading off of mine.
All right, well, Cardinals. I know who you guys want to say. From a Cardinal fan point of view, I want experience for Game 1. I want Wainwright.
Wrong again. Jack Flaherty will start Game 1. I guarantee it. He's got a .96 ERA, I believe, in the second half. He's also putting his name into the Cy Young conversation.
Yeah, he could be a late Cy Young runner-up, but I mean, I don't know if he'll win it.
He's not going to win it, but I think he's putting his name into the conversation.
Dodgers, Kershaw.
Wrong again.
I actually have Kershaw starting.
Finally.
For the experience, but
we are sorry about that for all your ears. That was probably very loud. I think I have Hyun-Jin Ryu. I understand your Kershaw point, but Hyun-Jin Ryu's had such a good year. He's got to be my number one. I would actually have Kershaw third, just because you don't want to go. I wouldn't want to go two lefties in a row. I think Walker Buehler is one of those guys. Oh man, he's on fire.
Brewers, I have Gio Gonzalez.
Wrong again. I have Brandon Woodruff. He's been their ace all year, and I think he will stay that.
Once again, I also have him as well.
Braves, I got Soroka.
Yep.
Yeah.
At least we agree.
Finally.
Finally in agreement.
For the Nats, I got Scherzer.
Yeah,
obviously.
No one's going to disagree with that.
The only one I could say maybe is Strasburg, but
it's going to be Scherzer.
Yeah.
I could see, but obviously. So that's our MLB for predicting next week. We're going to be a lot more depth next week for the MLB.
Next week we'll have a lot of time spent on baseball because the playoffs coming up. So.
All right, as we get closer to the end of this podcast, we're going to kind of get into the fun section, fantasy, betting lines, and stuff like that. So we're going to look back on last week, what we said about like fantasy, spread and stuff. We'll start with the spread for me. So I said the Titans would beat the -2.5 spread against the Jags. I was obviously wrong. Cardinals would beat -3.5 against the Panthers. Wrong. But Packers would beat the 7.5 spread, and I was right on that pick. And Lucas?
All right, I'm just going to go through my whole reflection because I did not get it all nice and ordered. I didn't get the Bills-Bengals. That was I think it was a 4-point game if I remember correctly. Hollywood Brown was bad. I'm sorry to any fantasy owners that listen to me. Went back on my word. I did say don't start any Philadelphia running backs, and I started Miles Sanders. And I'm starting to see him emerge, so I'm happy with that. I still would keep Devin Singletary if you're a fantasy owner. I understand that he's hurt right now, but I think when he comes back, he can still step in and become a starter. And Will Greer doesn't start. I'll say it out loud. I'm sorry to anyone who wants to hold me accountable for saying I guarantee it. And I did also say in the college football section that Florida would kill Tennessee, or Tennessee would kill Florida, and Florida killed Tennessee.
Yeah, mine's short and sweet. I'm just going to go through my whole reflection. I was 2-1 against the spread last week. I was right that the Jets would cover the 22.5-point spread against the Patriots, even though that was a really close one. The only reason they did it was because of a Jamal Adams pick six against a backup quarterback. I was right about the Ravens covering the 6.5 spread against the Chiefs. We all know we talked about it extensively in this podcast, close game. And I was wrong about the Falcons covering the 2.5-point spread. They were plus 2.5 against the Colts. The Colts ended up winning that game by 3, I believe. I was dead right on Scary Terry McLaurin. He had another touchdown. That's 3 straight weeks with touchdown. He's having an amazing year. I'd say I was fairly correct on the Ravens-Chiefs game. That was the game I picked to analyze. I did have the Ravens winning that game, but most of it ended up going the way I expected to. And I'll just keep you guys updated throughout the year. I do pick every game against the spread. And I'm currently 27-24 against the spread, which is actually pretty good. It's above that 54% line, which is where you want to be. So, yeah.
And going to my fantasy players quickly, who I said to start, I said Marquise Brown. He only put up 6.9 points. I mean, this could just be a fluke, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Then with Julian Edelman, I said to sit him. This was before AB got released, and he put up 19.2 points. And then I said pick up DK Metcalf. I know he didn't have that great of a week, but, I mean, he still has a time to shine in that offense.
Another reflection that I just made a mistake on. 27-24 is not above the 54% line that you would normally expect. That's my bad. It's at 53%. My bad.
Claims he's a math guy, but the man can't get that math fact right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, all right. So now starting this week with kind of the spread and stuff, we're going to be keeping track of how we do each week. We're going to choose 3 games we want, and so I'll start with mine. First one, I got Eagles and Packers for tonight. Packers are favored 4.5 at the time I saw. I'm going to take the Packers. A little biased, but I mean I have them winning by 7, 24-17 tonight. So I feel like it's not going to be just like a field goal game. It'll be a touchdown game. And then I have Redskins Giants. Giants were -3. I love Daniel Jones at home. I love Daniel Jones overall in Washington. I don't know. Maybe Dwayne Haskins will be good, but I'm taking the Giants here. And then Bucks at the Rams. Rams are only 9.5 against the Bucks, and they're at home. So obviously, I got to take the Rams against a struggling Bucks team.
I'll say my 3 games here. Titans at the Falcons. I have the Falcons covering a 4.5 point spread there. I know Keanu Neal is hurt, but I really like this Falcons team even without him. My second one is the Cowboys at the Saints, and I'm taking the Cowboys -2.5. I'm on the Cowboys bandwagon, and the Saints are a little up in the air for me right now. I'm still trying to decide whether I like the team or not. And then the Chiefs at the Lions. I got the Chiefs at -6.5, so it's under that 1 touchdown marker, which is kind of what you're looking for in betting. So yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs at -6.5 in that game.
All right, we got Chargers. Miami is plus 16.5, and I feel like Miami can keep that game close enough, so I'll take Miami. Seattle, Arizona at a +5, and I think Arizona will go against it. And then Oakland and Indianapolis is at a -7, and I'm taking Indy.
Okay.
All right, so heading on to the fantasy topic, let's just talk about how our leagues went quickly. I was 1 and 2 in my 3 leagues, but in one of my leagues, I was able to put up 180 points in a PPR league, which was amazing to see for me. Lucas.
Oh, 3-0 in 2 leagues, and I'm 0-3 in another. I'm happy.
Well, my fantasy week looked rough, as you could say. I went 0-4 in all my leagues, combined. Yeah, it was really a disappointing performance. I think we need some motivational speeches after that one.
Okay, now continuing on with fantasy, we're going to do our typical start sit, pick up off of waivers. For my start, I'm going to say Kenny Galladay. Last week he didn't have that great of a week, and I think he's looking to bounce back. Especially, we don't trust Kansas City's secondary unless they trade for Jalen Ramsey or whatever. So, yeah, that's why I think you should start him.
My start, Miles Sanders. I said it earlier. I know that he was my sit last week, but I feel like he's emerging to be almost an alone back, and I feel like he'd be a good flex for people, and he is my flex.
The one thing that does scare me with Miles Sanders, though, is Jordan Howard was getting the goal line work last week, so that's kind of a scary sight to see for fantasy owners, but I think Miles Sanders still has that standalone value. My start of the week is Mecole Hardman for the Chiefs. He won't face a number 1 corner, and Darius Slay is questionable as well, so he might face the number 3 corner, and he also won't be bracketed by any coverages because you have guys like Sammy Watkins who would take that up, or Travis Kelce, or DeMarcus Robinson. He won't be bracketed. You're not going to bracket DeMarcus Robinson. Stop.
All right, going on to our sits. I said Tariq Cohen. He's been struggling as of late. It seems like they're getting David Montgomery more involved with the offense. Last 2 weeks, he's been held under 5 points, and I still don't trust Mitchell Trubisky as much, and that Vikings defense is really good, so I think it'll be hard for him to do some work.
My sit's Chris Carson. I feel Seattle's getting kind of upset with the way he's playing. Rashard Penny should come back, I think, this week. And I feel like Penny has a chance to take back some carries from Carson.
My sit of the week is actually something that's going to piss Lucas off a little bit, is Devin Singletary. I do really like Devin Singletary, but if you just look at it, he's facing New England, and he's still questionable with the hamstring injury. So I don't think there's any reason that you should be starting him, especially with my waiver wire coming up.
If he is healthy, you shouldn't sit him. I think he's a capable flex. He's not an RB1 or 2. He
Absolutely
could be a
not.
flex.
Yeah.
I don't see. I know Patriots have good defense, but he's still going to put up what he does because when he comes in, people aren't expecting it, at this point at least. He doesn't have that many attempts on the year, and he's just got a lot of yards.
He's facing a wizard. That's all I have to say.
Get off of Belichick's lap.
Bill Belichick is...
Hey, we all have someone we love. All right. And for our pickup off waivers, obviously this is an obvious choice. I mean, Wayne Gallman with Saquon out, it'll be easy for them. He'll be the starter now, and then Daniel Jones might want a safety valve in case can't really find a receiver open. So
My pickup, you guys can guess it, Gardner Minshew. I'd like to point out that he has 3 weeks that have been, at least in one of my leagues, he had 17.6, 16.2, 17.9. He's got a very good, he's not going off for a ton of points, but he's very consistent. And 3% of leagues own him on NFL, so pick him up. He's worth it.
Well, since Ashton decided to go and steal mine, just an FYI, if Wayne Gallman is not rostered in your league and you have more than 10 people, pick him up, please, and probably start him. Now that I'm gonna switch on the fly, my pickup of the week is gonna be Philip Dorsett from New England. I do think that Sean McDermott's such a great coach that he might not focus on him, and he'll focus on Josh Gordon, who is the best receiver on that team, and he's the best pass catcher on that team. So he'll probably end up bracketing Josh Gordon. And for those of you that don't know, bracketing, corner underneath, safety over top.
I actually thought about putting Philip Dorsett as my pickup too, because if Tom Brady needs kind of a deep threat, he can be that guy, that speedy deep threat.
Actually, you must be reading my notes or something here. I don't know. It seems like you're copying me.
I mean, that happened with the pitching. All right, so to wrap things up, we're going to go with the underdog pick of the week. The teams who we think will win that are not favored in the spread. So my pick, I actually have the Saints beating the Cowboys. They're -3 at home against the Cowboys. I think this will be a tough test for Dak Prescott, especially Sunday Night Football, big game. It might be a struggle bus for him.
Just a slight correction there. They're +3, not -3.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I still have the Saints beating the Cowboys.
You're right to pick they are the underdog, but it's +3, not
Okay.
New England Buffalo, +7.5. Buffalo wins. Not going to say much because I've talked about it the whole podcast.
My underdog pick of the week is actually tonight. I have the Eagles beating Green Bay in a really close one. I think, if you guys didn't watch the game, sorry about that, but it'll be a fun one.
All right, I think that's about it. Do you guys got anything to say?
I just think it was a great show. This is it's only our second episode, so it's going to be a little rough around the edges as we get everything figured out. We actually tried to record this 2 days ago, but we had some technical issues. So we're kind of rushing to record this on Thursday, and hopefully we get it up as soon as possible.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Have a good one. We'll be back next week for sure. Make sure to check out our Instagram at the Sports Enthusiast, and on Twitter at SportsENTPod. That's at SportsENTPod.
This is available on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Anchor.
Yep. So be sure to check us out. Tell your friends. Tell your mom. Tell your grandma. Tell your cat. Your grandpa might want to listen to. So have a good one, everybody. Peace out.
Thank you.